Amplified.
All right, welcome everybody to the Amner Martinez podcast. It's the Monday after the Super Bowl. What did you think about the game? You don't care less about football, right?
I don't care about it, but it was fun.
It's just fun to do it,
Just kind of just to jump in and then enjoy the whatever,
It's kind of fun though.
Right. It was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah.
Our team lost.
Yeah. Well, you didn't choose a team until the team won. Then you were like, "Oh, Rams all the way."
No, I mean I was rooting for the Bengals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals. I didn't have a team either, but it's fun to
Yeah.
I started drinking at noon.
So how do you feel?
Huh?
How do you feel?
I feel actually pretty good. I slept good. But yeah, it's Monday. It's that typical Monday. But
I agree, man.
But our next guest is not typical. Our next guest is Parranderos Latin Combo. It's a local band. Everybody knows them. They just...
Not so local anymore.
Not so local, yeah. But they're still local.
They're kind of more international.
They're local.
Okay. I bet you regretted that. The instant it left it just escaped your lips.
Yeah.
Fuck, why
I was like, I'm going to say that, and it's going to be funny.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, I shouldn't try that. But anyways, they're local. They just put an album together, their second album, and they came and they spoke with us and they broke down, what it all took to get this album put together, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of wild, huh?
Yeah.
You were there.
Yep.
On the recording.
Right.
What did you think? You
what
fucking
recording?
asshole.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I'm having a really hard time today.
Yeah.
Paying attention.
Okay, so what did you think about Parranderos conversation?
I had a good time. I had a really good time. Just sitting over there.
The music is dope.
Yeah, it's very different too.
It's amazing, the quality of the sound, and then after you hear how they put it together, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the engineering part is legit, solid. But then the most legit part are the musicians.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just wild.
Yeah.
It's wild because I've been around Parranderos pretty much the whole time they've been around, and they just
Is this the best version of the Parranderos?
Oh yeah, they totally leveled up.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. So we listened to the record before we met them, so we talked about some specific songs, and just what it took. So this is an exciting one because they have a CD release coming up at Woolies this coming Saturday, February 19th. So it should be a dope party. We already bought tickets for the whole office. Tickets are selling out. But I want to thank Ryan and Fernando for coming and making time for us. So this is Parranderos Latin Combo and their new album, Chantaje.
El
Chantaje. And they go in on the name too. So it's a really good conversation. So everybody listen to this, share it, and then go buy the tickets and go buy their album. And we'll see you guys on Saturday. Peace. Okay, let me start with this. El Gran Chantaje. Give us the name, the name of it, where it came from, what. We'll go right into it. Let's jump.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Go for it, Fer.
Oh, okay. So we are Parranderos Latin Combo.
Mm-hmm.
Gracias por la invitación, Amner. Martinez Podcast, production, Kenji, el sensei. Parranderos Latin Combo empezó cuando Ryan y yo nos conocimos. Obviamente para mí es un maestro.
Speak English, Fernando.
You're in America.
You're in America, goddammit.
No, I understand, but only the first part will be in Spanish.
Oh, so El Gran Chantaje was originally your idea of the group name.
Yeah, it was one of the ideas.
Okay.
And when we started to record it, we were thinking about rebranding essentially and going to Grupo Chantaje.
Okay.
But because Parranderos Latin Combo already has a following, we have Mary Jane, that tune out there.
Right, yeah.
On YouTube, it just hit 1 million
Yes.
on YouTube, and 76% of those people are from Colombia. So throwing another and trying to rebrand and, shoot that out.
Yeah.
When you see groups that say, with members from this group and that group, it's like we didn't want to have to do that. So,
right.
So we kept Parranderos basically, and instead thought of the new group and the collaboration for this album being called El Gran Chantaje.
I see.
So it has more to do. It has less to do with the actual word chantaje as it
Then
does
the
group
story and the group
whole,
behind it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you guys were salsa vibe. So what was the first one? As I remember, we were talking Remendados, right? Yeah. But was that did that evolve into salsa vibe?
No. At the time, I didn't know Ryan, and he was in Brazilian Sunset, salsa vibe with a vibraphone led set list.
Actually, it was
Saltinos.
Saltinos was the first one. That's the first group I put together, which was Latin American.
Okay.
I'm sorry, popular American music played with Latin American rhythms and African rhythms. Yeah. But then that turned into half of that group turned into the Snacks, the most famous, the best band in the world. I don't know if you know those guys, but Jeff Karnowski and Mike Pfaff were part of that. They went on to start the Snacks, and then the rest of the group basically started to be led by Jimenez.
Un cantante salvadoreño con un PhD de música de Missouri, Universidad de Missouri.
Okay.
Alfredo Jimenez.
And we had a show. So this is more than 10 years ago when Salsa Des Moines was starting, and we were trying to put together shows and salsa parties essentially. We didn't have a name for the group, so Luisito, who was a big part of Salsa Des Moines, coined the name of the group, the Alfredo Jimenez Orchestra or something like that. And eventually we were like, we don't want to be called that. So because we were led by a vibraphone, John Cazullermuda on vibraphone, we changed it because we did a lot of Latin jazz and salsa wasn't our main focus, We changed the name to Salsa Vibe.
Okay.
Also, I think Luisito created that too. But during that time, Fernando and I had met briefly at the Des Moines Arts Festival, is actually where we first met, and then reconnected a few months after at one of the gigs that when we used to rent out the Ruan. And
the top floor, the penthouse of the Ruan.
Right.
And
Yeah.
DJ Sang would be there too.
Yeah, those were good parties.
Yeah.
They were pretty good. And so that's, then we kind of changed the group. Because we had a few more singers. Fernando, knew a lot more of the salsa tunes we actually wanted to play, and then Jose Ignacio and David Escudero also joined with them, and so we had these. It was kind of an interesting group at the time because we had people coming down from Ames, we had people coming from the University of Northern Iowa. To play every Wednesday night at the Star Bar for years.
Right, yeah, we used to go there.
And then also Pablo Reasco was here for work for a bunch of months. He's based in Texas, but he's originally from Ecuador, but he's an African mother from Esmeraldas and African father from Ponce, Puerto Rico. And he also sang with Salsa Vibe. As soon as he got here, he was going crazy. He's like going improv for like 9 minutes and the band following him. It was a good time for music.
Is that part of the evolution of the name, you think? Because you guys are just down to play with musicians and, invite people. So
yeah,
to keep the band together, is it harder for you? Because what's the biggest number of people you've had in the band?
Probably for one event, I don't know, it was 16.
14
Right.
with the clarinet.
Yeah, with 5 horns, 3 singers. I don't know. And then like people sitting in. I mean, we had over 100 people play at the Star Bar throughout the years.
Really?
Yeah, in the groups. There were different combinations, not just parranderos, but it was always.
But that was salsa vibe, right? Star Bar was still salsa vibe. Like, where did Parranderos kind of start to evolve?
So Parranderos actually started with Edwin Custodio, Eddie Colon, Nick, Leo, Fernando, and I at Mi Patria.
So it's like a smaller version or smaller.
So we could do more things besides Latin jazz, and we could focus on cumbia and different styles like that. So Nick Leo played piano in Salsa Vibe, but in Parranderos he was allowed to play, or not allowed, but was able to play accordion and cuatro in different styles. So we play different songs. And we developed some music that actually is on this album. That's where we met Pablo Reasco too. Was at Mi Patria, because we would play Tuesdays or something, Thursdays
for dinner.
And he like popped around the corner and was like, "Hey, I want to sing." And we're like, "Oh, really?"
He called in a song. I remember he called in Caballo Viejo, which I later had to learn just to make sure that I know it. And he called the song, and he's like, "I don't care if you don't know it. Just follow me." And he started singing, and the band started following him.
Really?
The band but me.
Yeah.
and he did great. I'm like, oh my God, we're so lucky this genius is in town.
So so Salsa Vibe evolves a little bit into PLC, Parranderos Latin Combo. Then when was your first LP? What was the first album that you guys put together?
The first album was 2014. We were developing it over about 2 years before we went, and that was a different group. It was more musicians from Des Moines, but as far as like the horn players were all from the University of Northern Iowa or other schools, but we're essentially all Des Moines residents or Iowa residents that when we all traveled to Puerto Rico for that.
Yeah.
So we were playing a lot of gigs. We were really busy, and essentially we went to Puerto Rico to kind of finish the album, essentially. So we were there for 8 days, and I think there was 25 people that came and were in the space, or
really,
that went for that event. 14 musicians or 14 or 15 musicians total.
Did you record everything there in those 8 days, or?
Yep. Yeah, that one we finished. We only paid for 5 days, but we had the last day was a 14-hour day on a Saturday, and Carlos Velasquez is the engineer who they have I don't know, like over 40 Latin Grammys. He's engineered all kinds of groups. Playback Music is the name of the studio. Really, really great place. But
also with the leadership of Ramon Martinez, and then the assistance of Heriberto Roque, who is at the time was a junior engineer at Playback, and so he's also one of the engineers for our album. He's not junior anymore. He's a beast. He came all the way from Puerto Rico to record us here by Drake at Sonic Factory for this album.
So last December of 2020, right at the end of all the craziness, we spent a month with Heriberto here in Des Moines, Sebastian Ramirez, and Pablo came up, did his recording there. Pablo sang a song that Edwin Custodio wrote. Edwin Custodio was a Puerto Rican who passed away a couple years back, but was an original parrandero, and it was cool, because we didn't know how we were going to finish or even start El Gran Chantaje, really. And at the last minute, nobody had anything going on in December, and we all just kind of stayed at my house and wrote music, and then went to the studio. And thankfully, Heriberto was available and really pushed us to keep recording. And because he was here, we were able to use him. He was the engineer at Sonic Factory. Sonic Factory didn't have any engineers because everybody was scared of COVID. Not because they were scared of COVID, but everybody was busy doing their own thing.
Yeah.
So Heriberto came, and we spent almost 70 hours that month in the studio, laying down the foundation for El Gran Chantaje. And then, but not everything was recorded there. That opens up a story. The foundation of the album was recorded there, and then each song has a different list of where it was recorded and who recorded on it.
I see.
The album has, is almost 40 musicians. It's a collaboration of around, I think, 38 musicians.
It's amazing. I mean, Kenji and I were listening to the music, and I mean, it's amazing. Like it's a really good album.
Yeah, it's really well.
It's a lot of work. So let me backtrack a little bit. So you guys were did the Puerto Rico the album in Puerto Rico, the first one. That's where Mary Jane that's like your most popular song, right? That's the one that got the 1 million hits on YouTube.
Yep. So we did some promotions in Colombia. There's a DJ in Cali who
Okay.
helped us out. But also my wife and her friend Meriahi, Coisania Meriahi, and I were in Cali for New Year's maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And we just walked around to every club and handed out CDs, and then we did another promotion just for DJs in the area. So that's why, I mean, if you can believe it, 76% of the listens are all from one region.
Really?
And
Yeah, no, I believe it. So you guys have a pretty nice following in Colombia then.
Cali.
In Cali.
Cali and cities around Cali. El
Okay.
Valle del Cauca.
So when you record the first album, I mean, when doesn't like a new album idea come about? Like, does that just evolve on its own, or just life happens and
You want to talk about the next album? I got all the info on that.
yeah. So tell me how does that the new one?
the next one, but really it starts like Fernando and I decide that we have enough music,
Okay.
and then I've written grants for each album.
Okay.
So through the Iowa Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts, thanks so much, guys. They started with some, basically some seed money. It definitely is a small part of what it ends up being, but it definitely helps to, to get us going.
Right.
Pushing us in the right direction. We did a lot of fundraising for the one that we win in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Because we all had to travel there. We all finished the album there. There were some songs that definitely needed everybody to be in the same room, in the same space for a week, which is tough because everybody has families. And if you're playing gigs on Friday and Saturday, nobody wants to get together on Sunday or Monday,
Right.
And then everybody else gets busy throughout the week. So we had to put everybody together in one space. For this one, it's much different because we were able to bring the people here, and because it was so cold, nobody had anything else to do. So,
So you brought people from Colombia.
from Colombia, Puerto Rico, and then Kansas City, and also Houston. Pablo Reasco, who's the Ecuadorian.
What do they tell you when you bring them to Iowa to record?
In this cold,
Yeah.
this is el gran chantaje. It's the offer you can't refuse.
What do they say? They say really bad things.
They say really bad things. Like, what the-
Constantly. Heriberto took it the worst. But, Juan Sebastian, he had a full ride to the University of Iowa for classical piano. That's how we met him.
Okay.
And then we stayed in touch, and I went down to Colombia to visit with him. Goizi and I did. And we kept talking about it. So this is, it's taken him maybe 4 years, 3 or 4 years, probably at least 3 years.
This album.
Just
too.
this idea, the concepts of the album.
Sure. Yeah.
And then what happens is you just keep talking so much, stuff. You keep talking, smack about it all the time. And like, are we going to do that album? We're going to do that album.
Right.
Then eventually you say, okay, I'm going to write the grant. We're going to get the money. And then you have a deadline. You can only use the money in a certain amount of time. That was extended because of COVID. We were supposed to record in April of 2020. It was pushed back to December. But at that time, nobody had anything to do.
Right.
There was no gigs in Colombia, very few gigs in Puerto Rico. So we were able to hold on to them for a month. And again, very few nights out even on the town.
Right.
Because everybody was,
Staying home.
staying home.
So which one's the first song that you guys were like, this is going on the album?
Probably Travesuras.
No. It's Clase de Bolas.
No.
What? Clase de Bolas. Yeah.
Clase de Bolas, okay.
It's because
Those two are tied.
Okay.
Those are tied.
Who write the lyrics on Clase de Bolas?
So it's a process. It's like almost the same process as you do in your podcast. You
Okay.
interview your friends and then you create the story.
Right.
And if you're
Right.
paying attention
Yeah.
and put it in writing and then put it together with other experiences that you get in life, and people are talking about that same thing later on somewhere down the street, but you listen and then you pay attention and then. But the topic is about not having enough balls to get the job done.
Well, that's the one that we thought was that had the lyrics
figure it
more
out?
¿cómo se dice? I guess not political. It's not political,
No,
right? It's
it was supposed to be, but it never made it there.
Okay.
never
So
made
what?
it.
Describe that song. Like, explain that song a little bit to us. I know you
So-
said like not have enough balls to get that job done,
Yeah.
but break it down a little bit more.
It's hard when you build teams. It's difficult to build teams.
Yeah.
You want everybody to be on board, but when people are not in the same page, it frustrates you. So
Yeah.
instead of getting down and getting frustrated because not everybody can make a show or anybody can make a game if you're a soccer player or something, it's just about writing a song about champions.
Okay.
And also, it seems like it's about soccer players that can't show up to gigs, to games. That's what it's starting to seem like,
So what comes first, the lyrics or the music?
That one, it was a little bit of both. It was inspired by a friend of ours who was frustrated with part of our team and basically said, que clase de bolas.
Yeah.
Over
What
text.
kind of balls do you have?
Yeah,
Is
what
that
these guys have.
yeah.
What kind of balls do these guys have, doing this to us? And, you run into that a lot. Nobody really is intentionally trying to, hurt the team or anything.
Right.
It's just sometimes you're put in that position where you're frustrated and you say that. So, and we laughed about it, and Fernando held on to it for a long time, and he had a song that he was developing on the piano and
mostly
putting together
on the
themes.
guitar. So some big influence from Willie Colon on the melody. It's 3 parts that I played in the guitar, and then I showed it to Johann Sebastian and Ryan, and then Johann started playing the piano to my chords.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, that sounds so good. And also has a lot of influence from Fruco. So going to the caballo section, we're like,
Colombian salsa.
so that section.
But at this point, the only words that you had for it was "qué clase de bolas," or did you have any other lyrics?
No, so in my head, I had kind of like the melody of the verses going.
Okay.
But I always knew that it was 2 chords. ¿Qué clase de bolas tiene esta gente? No dice nada, nunca de frente. Entonces ahí, and then if I have to talk more about inspiration, you throw a little bit of Ruben Blades where you tell when you tell the story into long verses, but the verses have to be decent.
Yeah.
So then you dig in. Everybody kind of digs in, and we sit at the table, and
So that's kind of how it starts to evolve. You know what instrument to throw in, and
yeah, you're inspired by the music usually first. Not always, but a lot of times you're inspired by the music, and you have the chorus maybe, and then the verses. They don't write themselves, but you sit around and throw out ideas and pick the ones that stick and throw the other ones away.
Should we listen to that song real quick?
Sure.
La de clase de bolas.
¿Qué clase de bolas tiene esta gente? No dicen nada, nunca de frente. ¿Qué clase de bolas? Te lo digo de frente. Es que estás muy mal de la mente. Tu mente insípida, tu fiebre egoísta. Te despides de lejos, te da miedo mi vista. Siempre criticando, no entra en ambiente. ¿Qué clase de bolas?
Obviously, I'm not a musician, but your ears just like, it's amazing sound. But Ryan, or either of you, like, break it down for me, like, in terms, like, the music, the composition, like, all that, like, what you hear. Because you have a lot of English-speaking fan base, right? Like, people here in Iowa, most of them speak English. Explain that song in terms that we can understand it. Because it sounds dope.
Oh yeah. I mean, explain
The
lyrics?
instrumental, the
Sure.
like.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot going on there.
Right.
You know, like, so we start with Juan Carlos Charan from Making Movies. He was one of the guys who came up and stayed with us. It was a big part of us getting the bass tracks down in December. You know, so, you know, you start with the rhythm, you start with the bass, the percussion, but then, you know, it kind of transforms over time. You have, you layer a trombone on it, and that was done in Mexico City with from a Cuban trombone player.
Okay.
Who's a friend of Sebastian's uncle, who is a famous trumpet player from Colombia. So once you add that on there, you know, there's just a lot of there's a lot going on there. So you have maracas that are recorded afterwards. You know, there was a lot of percussion recorded in my basement, actually. So the congas were recorded in the basement, so were the maracas. And then Fernando's cousin in Ecuador recorded tres over it, which is a tres cubano. It's a little 6-string guitar, but 3 double strings. And
Eduardo Argandoña.
Yeah, Eduardo. And then, you know, so to create the really full sound, you know, we actually went to a studio here. Bob Fitch is the owner of the studio in Mainframe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a studio there. He has a grand piano, and there's like 6 microphones on the piano. So, you know, we were really careful about making sure that we had the perfect sound. And then all of that goes down to an engineer in Colombia who works for Fruco and is a very popular, well-known engineer in Medellin, Diego Cano. And Diego is a master of his craft. He really is. And you can listen to, I mean, both the engineers we've had, the first album, those guys are amazing, and they have lots of awards. Diego is also, you know, they don't sound exactly the same, you know, but Diego has a special way of going about what he does to make it all seem super crisp. You can hear all the instruments really well. Everybody has been commenting on how crispy it is, and that's a word
But they work together. Johann Sebastian Ramirez Espinosa and Diego Cano. The way they explain it to me in terms of mixing, where at that time of the interview, is that Sebastian is trying to tell him where in space is that bell versus the conga player versus the timbal player.
Yeah.
So he's trying to make sure that it sounds like a live show also, where it's not just things on top of each other, but that the listener can see the spaces and the distance between the musicians.
Yeah, because to me, like, you know, I hear it and, you know, everything is glued together, it's put together, it sounds awesome, but there's just so many things, thousands of things that happen for this one song to come together.
Yeah. I mean,
which is impressive. I mean, that's
a lot of the songs have that feel. You know, if you listen to like Fiesta, there's a lot happening there. There's a lot of different instrumentation. You're mixing a lot of different talents, really. You know, you're mixing a guy in Colombia who is Orisha and plays bata and is doing bimbe at the beginning and singing on top of that, singing a prayer, essentially. And then, you know, in the mix, in the middle, you have a friend of mine that I played music with for a long time in Colorado, who's Moroccan and lives in Paris, who's playing oud over the solo. And, you know, then, I don't know, then you have, there's all kinds of different timbres being included into it. And you really have to have somebody, you have to have a really smart group of guys like Juan Sebastian and Diego Cano to mix all of those together. And, you know, that's one of the...
and I feel their passion is on point. They really love music for what it is.
right.
If Fernando and I did it, it would not sound like that.
So let's listen to one song with, because I know that the name Joan Sebastian keeps on popping up, and we'll talk about him here in a little bit. But let's listen to which one? Travesura? Is that the one that you guys are using? There's a music video tell us about the song and the music video.
It's the first single of this album.
Okay, the first single. Joan Sebastian is singing on this one, right? So did you also?
Mi compadre, Johan,
Johan or Joan? Juan, ¿cómo dices todo el nombre? What's the album?
Johan Sebastian Ramírez Espinosa.
Joan
Pero
Sebastián.
es Juan Sebastián.
Juan Sebastián. A ver, ponla, Kenji.
Travesura. Negra, dime qué hacer para colmar esta calentura. A mi compay Fernando Aveiga y Ryan Mullin en Des Moines, Iowa, carajo. Aquí me tienes pensando en hacerte travesuras. Negra, dime qué hacer para colmar esta calentura.
Darwin is singing the backup vocals.
Sabes, con tu boquita y tus palabras me curas.
Oh, ya la
Tus
escuché.
caricias y besos desbordan mi locura. Matemática perfecta.
Okay, so I have a question.
Fe mueve montañas,
So,
tu silueta mueve el planeta.
I mean, I've heard your music, for years here. So, one of the things that pop into somebody that's familiar with you is that this guy, his voice pops out right immediately, and he's the one you're talking about. That him and Diego are their passion is it. Did they elevate this? Tell us about this Joan Sebastian gentleman and how he's playing a crucial role in this album.
Yeah, he's a brother, and his family for sure. We've since 2018 that we met, we connected from day one. We definitely have our hearts together, and minds too. So he's a super gifted musician, and he's all of the above in music. He writes, composes, directs. Also, in academia, he's a professor at the University of Antioquia, which is top 3 in Colombia, and for the Department of Music. But he's also in the pop scene, playing with so many bands locally. And we're just lucky that he's so gifted that he got full scholarship to go to the University of Iowa, and that he is a true salsero that was looking to play salsa.
So
when he came to Iowa.
he's in Colombia, but
He's in Colombia.
So you guys flew him in.
Yeah, if we have a a tour in the Midwest,
he'll come.
he'll come and rock.
He'll be here in
Yes.
February.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to do the Bravo Gala. And so Juan Sebastian and Johnny Perez will come up, and so will our bass player from Argentina. So it's a long way to travel for a 2-hour gig.
Yeah,
But-
yeah.
But we're going to try to do some other things, maybe get some other recordings done, some videos, and then do a CD release we don't know where that's going to be at yet, but that'll probably be the week after in February. Then essentially, we don't know. We might, if we can find some other places to play, we'll do that. But if not, then they'll head back, and then we will look forward to, what we're trying to do is focus on 4 to 6 weeks, a couple of times a year for the group to
Okay.
get together.
Oh, okay.
And then really focus on putting all of our time to good use with the groups, with the musicians from out
Sure.
of the country.
So there's this huge collaboration from international collaboration to get this album done.
And in a weird way, they all have a connection with Iowa, whether that is the new and Juan Sebastian really brought in a lot of connections from Medellin, from the professional musicians that he plays with. So,
Okay.
So like on Travesuras, you have Edward Lavara
Montoya, Edward Montoya, trombone player for Grupo Nietzsche,
Okay.
and Willie Colon.
Yeah, so he lives in the area and is friends with Juan Sebastian. So he plays on a couple of tracks. He plays Bombardino, which is like a soloing tuba on Travesuras on the end. And then Johnny, or Johan Eis, is another guy playing clarinet there, also a friend. And they play on a couple of songs for us. No Te Falta Nada is one of the songs that were on the Part 2 download.
Okay.
And that song was actually done. We went to Colombia in June and recorded that with all of Sebastian's connections, essentially. So Juan Sebastian, this album wouldn't be the same without Juan Sebastian. There's no doubt about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why this song? Why Travesuras to be the first single or the first song that you guys call it single?
I mean, it's an interesting mix. We have another one, so the album's kind of broken up into salsa, some kind of cumbia vallenato style, and then like some other mixes that that are a little further away from the popular genres that people listen to. But I think Travesuras is a really cool way to show the collaboration of everybody. You have Joey Camarillo, who's a killing band leader from. Where's he from?
So he's from Guanajuato, and he's one of the Camarillo's kids from the big Camarillo Maestro that with Banda Trancazo and other big bands from central Mexico. But he has the Institute of Music, Camarillo Institute of Music out of Council Bluffs, Iowa. And he is the leader of the Traviesos band, which is a band made out of children. And also he's got his own big band group, and also other groups.
It's banda, no? Banda?
Yeah, he's a banda maestro. But he also is an engineer for many groups in California and Mexico. So he mixes and masters. And his studio is amazing in Council Bluffs. But he's actually currently recording in Mexico for musical groups there. But the thing with him is that for Travesuras, not only he is doing the tuba, but he's mixing and engineering that song. And everybody in Colombia worked with him, and we worked with him. And
so that's the song that kind of encapsulates like almost what the album is, which is a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Because we ran into a song that's banda. Like,
¿Cuánto cuesta?
¿Cuánto cuesta?
So that's actually one of the songs, because it's kind of a production, like Fernando and I and Juan Sebastian as well, kind of see it. How do I say this? So we're open to whatever. So like Cuánto Cuesta is a song that Fernando wrote and worked with Joey Camarillo to produce, essentially, and none of us play on it. It's the first song that I think we've done that Fernando wrote and we produced, but we don't play on it. So if there's certain elements that somebody else can do better, essentially, then we just get out of the way and let them do it.
I see.
So it's definitely the whole album. This whole album is definitely a huge collaboration of people, sometimes that we haven't even met.
So in terms of Travesuras and the songwriting part of it, that's another song that try to bring the new chapter. If you listen to the lyrics on the first album, Only Mary Jane is a love song. And the idea was that we all went out of our way to basically try to put all of our musical power in the first album, and without having to use love songs as a resource. But for this album, I made it a point as a songwriter to write songs of conquest, of the conquest.
I see.
And not only to write them, but also to recruit songwriters that had good songs. So if you listen to Solo y Desesperado, that's an Eric Colón song that is also about conquest. If you listen to No Te Falta Nada, is sung by Eduardo Argandoña, my cousin, who's also about love conquest. Plus Travesuras, plus Cuánto Cuesta, even Clase de Bolas is about love conquest, but that's conquering the people, inspire people to work hard, basically. It's conceptually different. And Gran Chantaje, I mean, the biggest blackmail in the world is love.
I have a question for you guys. So what happens? Like, you guys go on tour and then you guys gotta do Cuánto Cuesta. You guys are gonna bring the whole band?
No.
Oh, hell yeah.
But hopefully, yeah. I mean, we'll either get shot, if we're playing in Mexico, stab somebody.
No. We'll play it. It will sound me in the guitar.
Oh, okay.
Cuánto cuesta tener
so just like a different version of it.
Yeah, so it's a waltz. It's a waltz.
Gotcha,
We'll play more Peruvian style.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All of it live will sound not quite a bit. It depends on which song. Like Travesuras, we won't have a tuba on it. There won't be the big solos at
He
the
goes
end.
crazy on that one too. Like,
Yeah. And then in the Bombardino, and you have other elements that are taking up that space, but it's unless we can really hit it huge and someone's going to pay us a lot of money, then yeah, sure, then we'd bring Joey and the whole team of banda players to back us up, or hire someone locally to do that song, or if that, because that's also the kind of the game, and what. One way that we kind of see it is that there's different markets for all of the songs,
right.
Someone who loves dancing salsa in Cali probably isn't going to pick up on Cuanto Cuesta or even Travesuras for that matter. But I feel like our fan base understands that we play a lot of salsa, but we also play cumbia, which is also very, I mean, if you watch a salsa band, they will play one cumbia once in a while.
I mean, they just gotta. No, you'll do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how art works, you know.
Right.
You do whatever you want and whatever you like, whatever makes you feel good.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And that's what we've always focused on. And that's what makes us happy, I mean, like, you could see, like, sometimes when you go, I love salsa music. I love all salsa bands that I see. But sometimes, like, fifth song and you're not bored, but you're like, I'm going to go take a break, what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And if it was a merengue tune, then you might be like, oh, maybe I'm going to stay. But or a cumbia. But usually there's not a lot of crossover in those groups.
Yeah.
You go see El Gran Combo. They are going to play one cumbia if they're in Colombia,
This plays a little bit of the consistency. I'm gonna go a little bit back because you guys did an event called Rocola at the Copacabana or a couple other places, but where you had a salsa vibe or
Norteño,
PLC and then a norteño
maquinaria.
and, yeah.
Then
So,
a rock in Espanol.
This is consistent with what you guys kind of been
Estrofia.
Estrofia, yes.
Stuff, yeah. And then we even had the snacks one time too, which was
yeah.
hip hop and things like that. But that's kind of
Euphoria.
Euphoria. Oh yeah. That's right.
Euphoria. So yeah, the album is consistent with how you guys are, like the personality of the band almost, right? Like if
And
you bring
just
in
as musicians too, we like to listen to everything.
Yeah.
Like Juan Sebastian is crazy talented in all styles of music, but also likes rock music, and we
Also tango.
Yeah, he leads tango groups, and you wouldn't know it unless he told you. You know what I mean? So it's definitely gonna be a tango song in the next album.
right.
It's gonna be called Antonio Mazomangos.
Antonio Masamango.
Antonio Masamango. Let's listen to this. Is one of my personal ones that I was like, oh, this one I like. This is la de No te rompa el coco.
Opa. Everything has been invented.
Yo me pongo a reír, yo me pongo a pensar cuando preguntan ¿qué será? ¿Qué será lo que viene? Lo nuevo que entretiene, ignorando que en este mundo ya todo está inventado. El reggaetón vino de la plena salsa choque, ¿qué es eso? La bachata ya se tocaba desde 1900. Por eso me río, yo no como cuento. Yo canto a la tradición con mucho esmero.
So, and what where does this one fall? Like a genre? This is
It's like salsa.
salsa, right?
Salsa from Colombia.
Okay.
Cali style maybe, or
I think he was going for the classical Cuban.
Cuban. Yeah.
Okay.
Classical Cuban sound and with a majestic lyric about don't suffer, don't get stressed out. Everything has been invented. and
Everything is
and if you want to know the truth, you gotta come to the truth world of salsa.
Yeah, and also work within tradition, right? You know,
Yeah.
like focus on the traditional parts of it and don't overthink it. Have fun and move along. You know, you're not going to create a whole brand new style of salsa music. There's no
okay.
need to. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
all
yeah.
you have to do is follow the tradition and you know, don't hurt your brain too much. You know.
Which one's your favorite, Fernando?
I think it's Clase de Bolas, because it was the songwriting process. Even though I make sure I bring paragraphs and a lot of writing.
Yeah.
It got chopped up. The lyrics got chopped up in real time with Sebastian being there and with Ryan being there at the same time that we were working on the arrangements.
Oh, okay.
So it was almost like the addition of the lyrics, the addition of the arrangements were done in real time.
So you like kind of come to
wasn't
life like in
sublist.
front of
it
you.
It wasn't subcontracted to other genius
Sure.
friends. It was all done in a dining room.
Okay.
Fortunately, he's got his piano next to the dining room. So once in a while, Sebas will jump in there, or even I, or even
Okay.
him will jump in there to throw ideas and then keep going, And the guitar is there too. And I think that has a lot of power, collaboration from the top to the end. However, I have to say that I've been listening to the song that we recorded in June in Medellin, No Te Falta Nada. I like that one a lot.
Okay. What about you?
looks nice.
What about you, Ryan? What's yours?
You know, it's kind of hard to pick because they're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I like that it's always bringing a new style. Each song is like, okay, this is happening now.
Yeah.
So I like the diversity of all the tunes. I think SOS Llano is probably one that I think came out of nowhere and is a unique style of mixing joropo, which is a style of from the Los Llanos in Colombia, música llanera. It's kind of like that. It's kind of based on that, and it's SOS Llano is the story of that in a way, but it also kind of has reflections of Iowa in it, and it was a cool collaboration. We didn't know that one was, all of it was kind of made up. Like it's not.
Which one is the one that has like a different language or like they're speaking tongue in the beginning?
Oh, that's Larry D.
Is that Larry D? Okay.
Yeah, so Larry
okay.
D. So that's.
I thought it was Larry D. I mentioned, I was like, that sounds like Larry D.
So that's Mira Oye, and that's also another song that we wrote right after we got back from Puerto Rico. It was basically a theme that I had on guitar that I was playing and kind of developing, and then we spent some time with it, and then Sebastian came and we showed it to him, and he just flipped it on its head and took over essentially and just made it into a little masterpiece of his own, and again, that's one of those things where you just step away.
Yeah.
And,
It's got like a lot of like Afro feel to it, like
Yeah, it's kind of
much
an
more
Afro
than, because like, I think we need to agree that like this is African music, right? Evolving to what it is now, but this one sounds more Afro, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong? I mean, I'm not a
You're
musician,
right,
so
you're right. So I mean, it's like a style. It's a couple of different styles really that are mixed together.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a really great percussionist named Juan Pablo Osorio, and Juan Pablo, I was introduced to him. I was working on some Colombian music and styles through Juan Sebastian when we met. And then on my first trip down to Medellin, we met and had some coffee and hung out and played some music and, just kind of discussed working together. And this was a song that had so many twists and turns to it that we weren't able to even get
this one, the one that the
Mira Oye, the
Mira
African
Oye,
one,
okay.
the kind of Afro beat or champeta or chande, or there's lots of different references throughout the tune. There's salsa references, there's cumbia references, dance hall. It finishes up with dance hall with Larry D. Fomzi. And so that's one of those songs that just went way off the rails and just like started to
Can
fly.
we play it real quick? Let's hear it. I thought it was pretty dope because that's another thing that even though it's not like complete banda, right? Like Cuánto Cuesta, but it still's kind of holding a space of its own in the album, right? Like it's not. A ver, dale, Kenji. Is this the one? Kendrick, I don't know if this is the one that I was talking about, but there's one that's like talking in tongue almost. Is this it?
This is it.
Is this
no,
it? Like
no,
it's
no,
later.
No, maybe you're thinking of Fiesta.
Fiesta.
Fiesta with the I mean the Orisha language or
Yeah, that's the one.
Yoruba.
Yeah,
language.
yeah. What is that? Yeah, this one.
So this is a guy named Chumbi,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a great friend of Juan Sebastian's. We went over to Chumbi's house when we were down there and
Okay.
learned about his group. He has a
And
group.
he's singing this.
He's a priest in the Yoruba religion.
Oh.
So he's saying some things in that language. And
He's got a school where he learns.
He
how
sounds
to
like
play
he's
technique.
like doing like a shaman,
that's exactly what it is, yeah. So it's an idea that Sebastian had when we were going to. It was just an idea he had, so he was able to put it together with these guys.
So this is another one that was crazy because we wrote it. I would say 3 or 2 days before we got in the studio, and fortunately I was sober at the time, and I started like, and I had to play bass on that rehearsal, so it was Juan Sebastian, Ryan, it was Juan Carlos Chaurant, the making movies, yo en bass in a rehearsal room, trying to get ready for recording. And these guys were singing upstairs in the piano, Fiesta, which sounds also like the song Medellin by Grupo Nietzsche, but that's something else. And that got stuck in my head. And then when they came down to the rehearsing room, I asked Sebas, I said, what were you doing up there? And he showed it to me. And then I started playing on the bass. And these guys start following, the other guy starts following. 3 hours later, we were only working on that song, and we were writing that song, and we brought that song fresh, completely fresh, new, to the recording session, Fiesta. And then Sebastian talked to his conga priest, and
he's the one that put the last touches on it, kind of thing.
Yeah, they did a session with Sebastian. Did a session with him, and they have some singing at the end as well. And then we also had. So Mohammed played in Paris on this one, on the oud, on the solo, and then Tim Sanders did all the saxophones in Minneapolis, and sent that down to Colombia to be added to the mix. So
we've only heard like 4 or 5 right now. So needless to say, like you can pretty much tell whoever's gonna listen to the album, like you can expect anything.
Yeah. I mean,
or what can they expect?
You can expect a potpourri.
a potpourri of party music.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the idea, right? We're parranderos, so we're the party guys.
Yeah.
Everything we do will have to have some kind of it'll be for fun. You know? It's about spreading, happiness really more than anything. So how do you do that? Well, this is how we do that.
Right.
We collaborate with musicians. We keep little tiny dreams alive, like you have like little songs that are in your head that you're like, oh, I can't wait till we meet again. So we can sit down, we can share a couple of ideas, see if people like it. Sometimes people like it, sometimes they don't. So there's a whole list that are on back order that we're just like, you like toss out and guys are like, I don't know, man, let's try this other way. Like, oh, shit.
The way I explain it is, or the way I understand it is like a big Senate where you throw in song ideas, and there's some songs that I wanted to record with Remendados that I haven't yet been able to record with Parranderos that I still haven't erased from the list. Hopefully someday someone will like it.
You have to be able to like put your ego aside in these type of projects, right? You can't have an ego here.
Yeah, no, I mean you still have an ego. It's just you get to see little cuts.
So then,
no, and that's okay. I mean that's part of it. Like afterwards you realize. You don't have to control everything, and kind of let it flow.
Right.
Because sometimes, Juan Sebastian definitely has a ton of ideas and is pushing and always pushing us to be better and is great at that. I mean, he's definitely a director and is always wanting us to do better. You know what I mean? And that's great. but there's some things you're not going to be able to do.
Yeah.
So you just have to be like, okay, I can't do that. So what do? You don't give up. You collaborate.
All right,
You bring in
right,
somebody
right.
who's, better at that. And then move on, regardless of if it's something that's super close to your ego.
Right.
So you just step aside and then the party sounds way better. So
Yeah.
So you're saying that February will be an event that is it a public event?
it is, yeah. It's the Bravo Gala, and I think it's a fundraiser for the administration costs for Bravo, which helps arts organizations through writing or doing funding of different grants, and it's not really a complicated position that they have, but you can go to Bravo and learn all about it specifically. But we were lucky enough to be invited to kind of warm up the group or warm up the crowd, and then they have dinner and we play some music over that. But we're basically the party band when you walk in.
Okay.
So it's if everybody gets here fine, with the flights and everything, it'll be great.
Yeah.
And out of respect to them, we won't be playing a gig on Friday night before it or Sunday after. But the week after, hopefully we'll have the CDs by then. We're going to just do a small amount of CDs. Nobody has CDs anymore. You order a computer, there's no CD player with it. There's no cars that have CDs. But we still have to sell a product essentially. And there's a lot of DJs that want the WAV files versus the MP3s that are being played on your phone. So hopefully we'll be able to we'll put together something the week after that. And if we can find another gig, then maybe we'll stay one more week, but it'll probably be just those 2 weekends and then we'll move on.
So you guys are in it for the music, right? Like this is a...
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to spend too much money on it, of your own money, We didn't go too far overboard on this. The first one we did really well because we did a lot of fundraising and we saved the whole band we played because all the musicians were here in Des Moines, so we saved a lot of that money to use on that trip. But we're in it for the music. We're in it for, some people spend their creative time doing other things.
Yeah.
This is how we spend
This
our
is
creative
how
time.
you...
Yeah. Instead of, I don't know, getting together and watching a football game, we get together and write songs and talk about music. And
What do you like the best, Fernando? Like the writing or the instrument playing?
I like it all. I like the whole process because even you have to learn how to load in and load out, and how to deal with weather changes.
Sure.
How to deal with all of it. But it's the hardest thing I do, definitely. And we know each other for many years, and I like to do different things, stay active. And but music is the hardest gig that I do. It's the most difficult thing. No matter if it's on the creative side or on the producing or in the execution, on the rehearsal, whatever it is the hardest thing. So it takes the most amount of energy, but that's what's exciting. It's I think every time.
Is it the one that you love the most?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But people ask me, if you had a hit, master hit on the radio, would you sell houses? And I tell them, well, I tell you this: if I knew about what it is to be a realtor when I was 18, I would have been a realtor since I was 18, regardless if I'm a musician or a tennis player. But having said that, I would love to have a hit on the radio.
Yeah.
Hopefully travesuras. But also we like to play more and produce more music.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. By the time we hit the stage, there's so much that goes into it.
Right.
Obviously booking, all the contracts involved in booking.
What part do you, sorry, not to interrupt you, but let me ask you the same question. Like, what part do you enjoy the most? Like, Fernando was describing those moments where like the song is kind of coming alive, right in front of you, or
it's all really nerve-wracking.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. A little bit, but it kind
well,
of.
it has to be, because if it's not, then is it even worth it, right?
Like the studio part of it is really, really fun. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your limits. You learn a lot about how you play.
Okay.
And and it can be a little depressing because you're like, oh, I have to fix that. You know what I mean? But then you learn how to do that.
Yeah.
You know, the next time you play, it's better. So I would say the best part about it is playing live. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Especially if we don't have to load in the equipment. You know,
You just show up.
yeah, like playing festivals is definitely the most fun you can have.
Okay.
Interacting with the other groups, and getting on the stage and having to perform is something that
Jamming.
and everybody
Yeah.
loves that in the group. You know, I mean, like this one. You know, we're self-releasing this album,
Uh-huh.
so we're not putting it on the streaming services until we hit a number that we like as far as making $1 on the product that
Sure.
we produced.
Yeah.
And we're just not going to hand it over, you know.
Okay,
So
yeah.
we'll have you can go to YouTube and watch Travesuras. You
Okay.
can go to parranderosmusic.com and purchase the album
Right.
and get all of that. But we'll kind of slowly put out the singles. You'll be able to watch them on YouTube. You'll be able to watch them on our website, but you won't be able to stream it
Right.
for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And the reason is because we want to create, I don't know, we want to not gain respect from it, but kind of respect music and respect the process just a little
Yeah.
bit more instead of just handing it over to
Right.
Spotify and be like, hey, hopefully you listen on Spotify, you know?
Yes.
At least, so this one, yeah, I mean, like we were talking about, you know, the album, it comes in 2 parts on the website,
Right.
because I do all the I'm doing the web design for this one, which I do that for work at the gallery, but it's not something I would say I really enjoy doing. And like I said, it's just nerve-wracking BS.
Right.
Webmaster info at parranderosmusic.com.
Music.
Well, I mean, like, so on New Year's Eve, we're trying to release it on New Year's Eve at midnight, essentially, on New Year's Day
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock or 12:01 in the morning. And at like 10 o'clock, when I'm uploading all the songs, I learned that I can only upload 10 songs. So I had a really nice conversation with the guys at GoDaddy. I'm sure they enjoyed that. But, you know, that's one of the elements that, you know, nobody's going to do it for you. And you can't find somebody that's going to be up at 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve
Right.
uploading your stuff because, you know, really it took that long to have everything perfect.
Right.
And, you know, our engineer in Medellin was actually
Working that day.
finishing some things for us for the release. And that's kind of how it happens. You know, it all happens really quick.
Also, the engineer in Mexico, he was also working with the guy in Medellin to get it all done the 31st.
Yeah.
So then you just can't upload 13 songs.
Yeah.
So like, what's going on, man? What's going on? And then I call them. It's like, can we do something creative? You know, they're like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So
You know, sorry.
Guns N' Roses, Illusion 1, Illusion 2.
Yeah. Then I was like, yeah, it's kind of like booze your delusion or whatever it's called.
But that's kind of part of the game, isn't it? Like, it's just nothing is ever easy. There's always hurdles. There's always curbs.
Definitely. You always have to pivot. You got to be ready to just pivot and be like, okay, there's part 1, there's part 2, but I can't tell people that, you know, I have to email them the link. So I had to email to every single person that orders it now. I have to email them a link. But then I, you know, I woke up the other day and I'm like, oh, just put it in a zip folder. But then it compresses the files.
Yeah.
And there's always something, you know what I mean? So now I'm going to learn about
Help
raw.
us, Kenji, help us.
So is okay. So the music is awesome, right? Like, and the performing and the but is part of that addictive too? The not knowing what's gonna happen and like problem solving, is that part of the
That's part of what we like doing.
right?
It
Is it? You
it's
know,
definitely
It's
something
all
that we
about
like.
problem solving.
right.
It's all
Like
about,
it-
and that Clase de Wallet is about that. It's about problem solving, coming back together, building the team up, and being champions.
Get it done.
Get it done.
Yeah.
Get it done is a big part of it, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I think we can go on another hour or two, and I think we need to talk about how you guys met in the next episode and how. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are like, "How is white guy from Iowa, you know, playing all these instruments in a Latin band?"
That's another one. That's
And I mean,
Ryan Mullin wiki.
No, I moved to Tampa when I was 18. That's where it started.
So, but you know, I mean, I spent enough time with you guys that I've heard like thousands of stories from you. You traveled, you know, to all different countries and played and have awesome stories. So we got to do this again.
Sure.
So, but find the album at
Parranderosmusic.com.
parranderosmusic.com.
And any party, bookings, festivals, anything, it's 515-782-5174. 515 Iowa 782-5174. Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
You
Fly
can find
'em
us on Facebook too. Is a great place too.
Yeah.
To see the information, to watch the videos.
Is that
too.
Parranderos or PLC?
I think it's
It's Parranderos Latin Combo.
Parranderos Latin Combo. Okay, and we'll put the links and stuff
Oh, cool.
on the video. And but it was a great album, man. I gotta listen to the rest of it because I didn't get but the ones that I've heard and the ones that we've heard are pretty awesome. So
it's fun.
I want to thank you guys for making time, and I'm sure we'll have to do this sometime.
Let us know anytime.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
boss.
Abner.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
brother.
All right.
Thanks, Kenji.
There you have it, Parranderos.
That's it.
It's amazing. It's amazing how they their like network is like international. So, and it's amazing how when musicians are in one project, like how they can make this into a reality. Cause
Right, it's like what I said before. They're like a Frankenstein of bands.
right. They managed
So
to
they
like
got all these guys from everywhere.
yeah. You can
It's
tell
just
in the
just
music
make it
that
work.
these guys are passionate about it, and like nothing about this band or this collaboration or this new album. It's like not half-assed. Like these guys are in it for the love of it. So I want to thank everybody for like still listening to us and sharing and commenting.
All 7 people. Thank you. All seven people that are listening still to this podcast. We want to thank you.
What makes you think it's 7?
Just the numbers. I can see the numbers.
Well, we're gonna cut that, asshole.
Cut that.
Yeah.
Cut that.
But anyways, thank you everybody for whoever listens to this, whoever watches this, whoever shares it. And we're going to keep having conversations. A local boxer also came and talked to us, Diego Zúñiga, so check out for that. And then many, many, many more things.
We're going to be ramming the next episode too. It's coming soon, very soon.
Ramming
it. We're going to ram it. We're going to ram this episode onto you. Onto you all. We're gonna ram it.
All right, thank you, everybody,
Thrust
and
it.
we'll
We're
see
thrust
you
this episode.
later.
Later.
Ramming.